Hello, everyone. Welcome to the presentation of the Uranus transit of the Pleiades, Remembering the Song of Creation. I'm Sybil Starr. I have been an astrologer for over 25 years, but the last several years, I have been very enamored with galactic astrology due to a deep connection that I feel with our Star Nation relatives. I feel their presence. I'm very excited about this transit because I believe it's going to be opening the door to open contact in a much bigger scale, especially with our Pleiadian relatives. And as you can see, I'm sitting in front of an image of the Pleiades. So let us dive right into this presentation. All right, so here we are. It's about remembering the song of creation, Uranus activation of the Pleiades in 2025. So as you can see here, I have some images of the Pleiades. Here is the Pleiades. The Pleiades star cluster is visible from virtually every part of the globe. It looks like a tiny, misty dipper of stars. It is 44 light years away from Earth. It is also known as Messier 45. There are over 1,000 stars in this cluster, but there are several that shine more brightly than others, and they are known as the Seven Sisters. And here there is an image here of the Seven Sisters. We've got Alcyone, which is the central star, is called the grand central sun of the Pleiades, and the Greek pronunciation is Alcyone or Alcyone. I believe that's it, Alcyone. But we're going to be calling it Alcyone because that is the English version. We have Merope, Electra, Selana, Maya, Taygeta, and Astaroth. And these are the parents over here of the seven sisters, Atlas and Pleione. But like I said, there's actually over 1,000 stars in this cluster. Late fall and winter are the prime times for seeing the Pleiades. They are first in line of three brilliant winter objects that rise one after the other over the course of about 6 hours. The Pleiades rise first, followed by Orion, and finally Sirius. And how to see the Pleiades? If you can find Orion, which is the most recognizable constellation in our Milky Way galaxy, at least here from Earth, and then, follow Orion up and you will see a bright reddish star called Aldebaran. And then the Pleiades is just to the right and up from that. Aldebaran is known as the follower of the Pleiades. The mythology and astrology of the Pleiades. Bernadette Brady says the Pleiades take up around a degree in the sky, but has claimed more poetry, scientific writings, recordings, and myths than any other constellation. Many different cultures around the world have deep connections to the Pleiades, including Babylon, the Celts, Egypt, Greece, and many others. In Babylon, the heliacal rising star of the Pleiades heralded the beginning of the new year. The Celts used the heliacal setting star. That's the star that rises in the east just after the sun sets in the month of mourning, which is November, for their beloved dead. Prayer would be said on what is now known as November 1st. It is related to All Hallows Eve and Halloween, and it is linked to the fates. To the Egyptians, the Pleiades were seven goddesses whom the dead had to encounter and by whom they had to be judged. To the Greeks, the Pleiades were part of an early cult of Aphrodite, who gave birth to seven daughters and turned them into a flock of doves. The leader of the doves was a dove goddess, Alcyone, who was said to bring good weather for the planting season. And just an interesting note is the word for the Pleiades in Japanese is Subaru, and of course that is their car. And if you look on that's their symbol. The symbol of Subaru is the Pleiades. There are seven stars there. The constellation of the Pleiades is found from 28 degrees of Taurus to Gemini 1 degree. The Pleiades are in alignment with the Sun from May 18th to the 22nd. Alcyone is the brightest star in this constellation. It is at 0 degrees, 20 minutes of Gemini. And the astrology of Alcyone, and this is from Bernadette Brady, the principle of inner vision and activation of the third eye, a desire to seek inner knowledge, but is linked to the fates and the judgment of the dead. So, the history of the Pleiades with Mother Earth. Why such a big connection with a constellation that is 444 light years away? This comes from Barbara Hand Clow, who is a famous astrologer, and she comes from Cherokee origin, and she says her star ancestry is the Pleiades, that she's actually a Pleiadian starseed. A great spiral of stellar light from the Pleiades reaches our sun, and our sun is the eighth of the large stars of the Pleiades. The generator of the spiral is Alcyone, the central star of the Pleiades from Earth's view. Some say our sun was once part of the Pleiades, and the stories have been created about how and why the sun became separated from the Pleiades. Barbara continues. She says, my Mayan medicine man, Hunbat's Men, has written about the Pleiadian star system since it is the basis of the long count in the Mayan calendar. Somehow, the Pleiadians have a great impact on the Mayan system, as if they slide into our world through a nautilus spiral when significant nows arrive. And this is such a now moment. She says her Pleiadian guides say they come into our dimension to inspire us to become masters of love. They are the keepers of the fifth dimensional reality of love and creativity. And I have here an image from her book, The Pleiadian Agenda. It's called the axis of consciousness, the vertical axis. And so I did cut off a little bit of it. So the first dimension is the iron core of the crystal earth. We come over here. This is the second dimension, which is telluric realm, deep, hot biosphere elementals. Third dimensional realm here, which is inner space, time, and humanity are the keepers. The fourth dimension is the collective mind, and the Anunnaki are the keepers of that dimension. The fifth dimensional reality is love and creativity, and the Pleiades are the keepers of this dimension. The sixth dimension here is the morphic field, sacred geometry, and Sirius are the keepers. The Sirians are the keepers. Seventh dimension is galactic informational highways of light, and the Andromeda Galaxy are the keepers of this dimension. Cosmic order, galactic federation, this is the eighth dimension. Orion are the keepers here. Ninth dimension is the Milky Way galactic center, and the Tzolk'in are the keepers, and then it goes on up into the Andromeda Galaxy. Okay. And so there is a connection can be traced back over 100,000 years to Earth's connection with the Pleiades. Some say the Pleiadians came to Earth to establish an outpost, as Mother Earth is very similar to planets in their star systems, and their first outpost became Lemuria. Earth is a melting pot for galactic issues and genetic material from thousands of worlds. Earth is involved in a 3D experiment where the beings forget they are source energy, so have the experience of separation from source, but the goal is remembering, and we are now in the time of remembering. The Pleiadian star mothers seeded the consciousness of Lemuria, and so the Pleiadians are the direct ancestors of the Lemurians. And this is a beautiful image here of a Pleiadian star mother. Okay. Um, and Uh, and of course, and here's a beautiful image of Lemuria as well. According to the book, The Keys of Enoch, the Pleiadians were responsible for upgrading the genetics of humanity. Okay. All right. So all human beings have DNA from the Pleiadians, and it is said that our DNA is very similar to theirs. Many indigenous people trace their ancestry to the Pleiades, and some go back over 40,000 years in their ability to trace it. Many indigenous people derive their ancestry from the Pleiadians, including the Hawaiians, as well as many other Polynesian people, the Maya, the Kogi, the Hopi, the Cherokee, and the Australian Aborigines. And I really love this image here of the indigenous ancestors with their communicating with their Star Nation relatives, their Star Nation ancestors. And some of the most closely held ancient indigenous wisdom is linked to their star ancestors. There is a Cherokee creation myth that was actually just recently allowed to be shared with non-Cherokee people by the Cherokee ancestors and or the Cherokee elders, I mean. So the Cherokee star ancestors were beings of light who rode a sound wave through a hole in space that came to eastern Tennessee. The Cherokee who live there are guardians of that vortex. So that's part of the Cherokee creation myth. Many ancient sacred sites are aligned with the Pleiades, such as Machu Picchu, the Seven Hills of Rome, Palenque, and Chichen Itza in Mexico. And there are many others too. The Inca is another indigenous people that trace their ancestry to the Pleiades. It is said that when Lemuria collapsed many thousands of years ago, beings from Lemuria landed in the area of Mount Shasta and developed the inner Earth city of Telos, where they still live. And many people still have experiences and communicate with Telos. There are temples. It is said there are temples there to the Pleiadian mothers. When the Lemurians landed there after the collapse, they created temples inside of the city of Telos, and one of them is the Ascended Master Temple, and it is dedicated to the goddess Mara, who is a Pleiadian mother. Okay, and here is a image of Mount Shasta, which is a very beautiful place. I live in California, so I have the great good fortune to be able to go there frequently. Have been there many, many times with many incredibly powerful experiences. Many channels of the Pleiadians have Pleiadian lineage in their DNA. And there are many channeled messages. The Pleiadians are often channeled by spiritual mediums who communicate messages from these beings. These messages frequently focus on themes such as love, peace, awakening, and the importance of spiritual development. Some people believe that the Pleiadians are actively helping humanity by sending messages and guidance during times of global crisis. There's also have been many UFO sightings of Pleiadian spacecraft. Some individuals claim to have witnessed spacecraft associated with the Pleiadians. These craft are often described as having a graceful, light, and shimmering appearance, sometimes resembling orbs or triangular ships. These sightings are often interpreted as signs of Pleiadian visitation or communication. And the Pleiadians are also said to be involved in protecting us from nuclear war. And that's one of the main reasons why there's so many Star Nation relatives who are really patrolling our airspace in many different ways. And it is said that they often intercept nuclear warheads that are being tested. Just recently, one was tested in North Korea, and it did not, no one actually knows where it landed, but it was supposedly aimed at the US, but it didn't make it. And it has been said that the Pleiadians did intercept that missile. Okay. All right. So who are the Pleiadians? The Pleiadians are a hybrid of the indigenous human population that has always resided on the planets of the star constellation of the Pleiades and the refugees who came from the planet Avalon and other planets in the Lyran system. They exist in a fifth to ninth dimensions in a parallel reality, perceivable not through our five senses, but through our extrasensory awareness. As spirit beings of light, the Pleiadians can be described as having light bodies, which are completely different from the flesh bodies of our earthly kind. The light bodies of the Pleiadians can appear in anthropomorphic forms, meaning human form, as well as abstract forms. The Pleiadians can come across as human beings of light, as the so-called shining ones, or as fields of light and streams of light without border or shape. They also, Pleiadians are not all humanoid. They do have, I have heard there are dolphins there. They've got conscious dolphins. They've got some feline beings. They've got more than humanoid beings, but apparently that's one of the main ones. Their physical appearance, or at least how they appear to us. Pleiadians typically appear to us as humanoid beings with tall, slender bodies, fair skin, and often depicted with light blonde hair or blue or light colored eyes. They are considered to be physically beautiful and exhibit grace and harmony, but they also show themselves as brown-skinned indigenous people or even as blue beings. I have a friend who is an indigenous person, and her clan meets, they gather yearly on Mount Shasta, and it's called the Bear Clan. They're the Pomo people from California, and they have had encounters with blue beings who identify themselves as Pleiadians. You know, as Bashar says, that our Star Nation relatives have never stopped communicating with the indigenous people. But now there's going to, of course, be more open contact with more of us. Mateus de Stefano says, they appear to us in ways that we can see and relate to. Pleiadians are highly evolved beings with deep spiritual wisdom, and they can create with their minds. They are believed to possess advanced knowledge of science, technology, and the universe, with a focus on unity, peace, and environmental stewardship. They are interested in guiding humanity towards enlightenment and a higher state of consciousness. Pleiadians are known to be very empathic, sensitive healers who heal with sound and crystals. They are actually healers of the emotional realm. That is their specialty. Pleiadians are also very involved in creative arts, especially music and dance, but really pretty much all creativity. You know, the fifth dimensional reality is about the creation of our own reality. And so creativity is a very big part of a fifth dimensional reality that the Pleiadians are the keepers of. All right. In 1975, a man named Billy Meyer, who lived in Switzerland, had contact with a group of Pleiadians who came to the Earth in their starship. Billy Meyer produced a number of photographs, which he said were of Pleiadian beam ships. as well as sketches that he said were of Pleiadians themselves. And this is one of his sketches. Okay, but he also has photographs. Okay. Um, Meyer's Pleiadians were said to be spiritual and in touch with nature, and they became a component of the New Age movement during the 1970s, where they were depicted as a peace-loving race of space brothers, which was said to be warning contactees that humanity was heading towards self-destruction. And this really has to do with the nuclear weapons. There is great concern in our Star Nation relative community that we're going to blow ourselves up because Earth has done that before. This would not be the first time, but they say they're not going to let it happen this time. And this is why as they say, the quarantine has been lifted and they are coming. They're not coming to do our work for us, but they're coming to help us. And they are intervening in the nuclear situation. And they also talk about nuclear energy as being very dangerous. The Pleiadians and the Arcturians, that's one of their main concerns. They feel that nuclear energy is very difficult. Anyway, the Pleiadians offered them alternative philosophies to avert such an eventuality. So they do intervene, but they're also teaching us a different way of being, that nuclear is not the way to go. All right. So the Pleiadian Light Council. The Pleiadian Light Council provides spiritual, tactical, and governmental guidance to the Pleiadians. The council consists of 12 members per division, with 12 divisions in total, creating a total of 144 elected High Council members. The council performs many different tasks, overseeing the entirety of the Pleiadian relations with the rest of the galaxy. The Pleiadian Light Council is an essential member of the Galactic Federation of Worlds and has an enormous impact on the decisions made for the galactic whole. Now, each of the star systems in the Pleiades has its own specialty as listed below. And this information comes from Debbie Solaris. And of course, this is a lovely image of the Pleiadian Council. Uh, so Atlas specializes in navigation and travel, star mapping, astronomy, science. Merope is the home of the Pleiadian psychospiritual healing and divine feminine mysteries. Maya, the Pleiadian pursuit of spiritual knowledge, universal law, shamanism, and archaeology. Electra, advanced technology, inventions, star codes, template builders, and implementers. Pleione, Pleiadian sanctuary star system, rest and respite for Pleiadians, deep spirituality. Taygeta, Starfleet Command, advanced technology, star exploration, and scientific pursuits. Alcyone is the seat of the Pleiadian civilization and government, creativity, music, administration, general and varied interest and culture. And like I said, this comes from Debbie Solaris. Other people have different understandings and teachings around some of these different stars. And of course, they were part of Greek mythology. And so there's also myths around several of these stars. Okay. So, we cannot do a presentation on the Pleiadians without talking about Pleiadian starseeds, as there are so many here. Okay, many starseeds here. And so so we know that the humanity has Pleiadian DNA. They actually are our cosmic cousins, as they say. And but there are souls here, people here who have had lives in the Pleiades. And so we call these star seeds. And so some of the traits are compassion and empathy for others. They're highly intuitive and psychic, healers on the emotional level, connected to crystals, Heal with sound that contains higher vibrational frequencies that activate the higher chakras. Can be very creative in music and dance because they're here to change the rhythm of Mother Earth. Highly creative in every art form. They're very connected to animals and Mother Earth. Good communicators, speak their truth. Sensitive to drugs and alcohol. Dislike conflict. May have boundary issues. May have a desire to fix others and can be people pleasers. Debbie Solaris also says that Pleiadian starseeds are very sensitive, highly empathic, transmute negative energies, and it can become overwhelming for them. Physical issues they struggle with are diabetes, blood sugar issues, cancer, codependent relationships. Pleiadian starseeds need a lot of self-care and do a lot better on vegetarian and vegan diets. So this going to be talking now. This comes from Barbara Hand Clow's Pleiadian Agenda. It's Alcyone and the Photon Belt, or the Photon Band, as she calls it. And so this is an area, the photon band itself is an area of increased photonic light and higher consciousness. It's a very high frequency gamma rays, which intensify the frequency ranges in our mind. Alcyone itself, and here I'm just going to kind of start talking about the image itself. So up here is Alcyone, okay? Alcyone always rests in the light of the photon belt. It never leaves the photon belt in its orbit. It is called the grand central sun of the Pleiades, and it is connected directly to source energy. It is a relative of Master Ra, our sun. It is a universal living library of creation templates for Earth, a cosmic emitter, which means it's always sending out these cosmic rays. And it is said that a community of angelic healers live there as well. And this comes from the book Stellar Destinies by Dr. Beatrix Sazel and Aniko Gresco. Okay, so, but the rest of this material, well, actually, it comes from both. This material comes from Barbara Hand Clow and also from the Stellar Destinies book. So we're looking at now, this image is what's called the Alcyone spiral. And what this is about is this is a download Barbara Henclow received, as well as Dr. Beatrix and Aniko, that our solar system is now transiting in the photon belt. And I know there's science behind this as well. And as I said, the photon belt is an area of increased photonic light and high energy gamma rays. And every the Pleiades, as well as our solar system. Of course, remember there is a belief that our sun is actually at one time belonged into was part of the Pleiades. And that's why there is so much connection. But anyway, this is a graph, and it shows the orbit of each of the stars of the Pleiades, as well as our solar system, which we could call, our sun is Ra. And that Mother Gaia is part of this solar system, and where we experience a 13,000 year cycle. And in this cycle, we spent 11,000 years in the galactic night and forgetting, and 2,000 years in the galactic light, where we are aligned with Alcyone, and it is a time of remembering. This cycle happens in the age of Aquarius and Leo. That is when we enter the photon belt for 2,000 years, and that is a time of remembering. And the last time that our solar system and Gaia were in the photon belt was in the age of Leo, and that was during the emergence of Egypt. Egypt emerged in the age of Leo. Egypt, the last time we were in the Photon Belt, and there was great calamities, catastrophes, earth catastrophes. And Egypt emerged out of that. Almost, they say, feel like it was almost wholly intact. That there were beings called the Shining Ones who helped create the Egyptian civilization. And so it was a golden age, and we are moving into the golden age. And so we have this great opportunity while we are in this 2000-year cycle in aligned with Alcyone and in the Photon Belt of this is the it's called the ascension process. We are in the time of ascension process of where we are given the opportunity to move into this fifth dimensional reality, and the Pleiadians are one of our main guides during this time. So I hope that is clear. All right. Now, the other stars of the Pleiades, they have their own orbits, and they have their own time in the galactic night, but it is much shorter. And one of the stars that is really prominent in the history of Mother Earth is the star Maya. And of course, it is believed that beings from the star Maya actually were the ancestors of the Mayans, and they may have been the ancestors of many of the indigenous people in the Americas, but especially the Maya. And the star Maya, as part of its cycle, it always travels with our solar system, with Gaia in the photon belt. And Maya has a special relationship with humanity. And in Greek mythology, Maya had a relationship with the god Zeus, and she was the mother of Mercury, the god Mercury. Okay. Now, what's interesting is as they this the uh, this stars of the Pleiades move into their own dark time, into the galactic night. And like I said, I think Maya is only there about 236 years. I believe that's uh, uh, what I read. And but this dark time allows them to experience forgetfulness and create the karmic patterns, which actually grows the greater reality. And according to Lisa Royal Holt, the Pleiadians have two karmic patterns, which many of the Pleiadian star seeds, as well as much of humanity, carry this karmic pattern. And so in their history, the Pleiadians were known to believe in always being positive and what we would call today spiritual bypass. As a result, they developed an immune system disorder due to the inability to feel negative feelings. Because remember, the Pleiadians are actually emotional level healers. And so it's important to feel everything. If we don't feel, we've got to feel it to heal it. Because if we don't feel it, we repress it and it stays in our energy body and our emotional body and ultimately can make us ill. So their holy people figured this out and understood that the importance of feeling negative feelings, dark feelings, as much as positive feelings. And it is about the integration of the shadow and the integration of dark and light within that heals us and makes us whole. Now, another piece of history, according to Lisa Royal Holt, is the Pleiadians were rescuers. Of course, they were empaths, very sensitive. They saw the people of Orion suffering and so attempted to intervene and rescue them. And for those of you who are not aware, the beings in the Orion constellation experienced many millions of years of war. And so, as the Pleiadians tried to intervene and rescue some Orion beings, beings from Orion retaliated and destroyed a most beautiful planet in the Pleiadian system. And so, there can be a feeling of collective guilt around this. And this is just my own observation, I feel like many of the Earth activists have a very strong Pleiadian connection and they have experienced a planet being destroyed before. So Pleiadians can often feel it deeply within their psyche, within their consciousness. But the important thing to remember is to step back and Mother Earth is going to heal herself. We need to heal. She says the most important things for us to do is to heal ourselves, is how we heal her. And so it's really important to remember that. But to just know that Pleiadian starseeds often carry these traits, and there may be some karma to work through. So now to the astrology. We're going to be talking about the planet Uranus. And so Uranus is the first of the what's called the outer planets or the transpersonal planets. And in your own chart, it's not as impactful unless it aspects one of your own planets. But by transit, it can impact all of us. And so, the principle of Uranus is about it's the higher mind or the mind of God, is what we would say. It is a planet of awakening. When Uranus comes along, it's like lightning striking. It's like one minute you didn't know something, and the next minute you do. I think we've all had those like aha moments and it's also on a collective level. It's very much about the awakening of humanity. Okay. Uranus is about downloads, like I said, getting those downloads. And it's actually downloading ideas from the mind of God that are in the morphogenic field. And Uranus is often strong in the charts of inventors. And as well as, people that have these cutting edge brilliant ideas. It's really about our own genius. Uranus awakens us to our own genius, and sometimes a great idea can come in and many people catch it at once. Here in the United States, we have a patent system, so only one person can be allowed to be responsible or to get the benefits of these downloads, but many people get them at the same time. Uranus comes along when we need change, when we're stuck. Uranus impacts the weather, and it also rules the energy meridians and nervous systems in our body. So it's really a very powerful planet. Now, Uranus has a 7-year cycle, has been traveling in Taurus, and in 2025, Uranus is going to be traveling from 23 to 29 degrees of Taurus. And with Uranus and Taurus is when we've been getting these physical upgrades to hold the increasing light. As I said, Uranus rules the energy meridians and nervous systems in our bodies. And we've been getting these incredible solar flares and coronal mass ejections, as well as we're traveling through this photon field of increased light. So it's so important because it is about the activation of the new human template and the 12-strand DNA. As we're moving through these increased fields of light, our bodies are being upgraded. And because we need to be able to anchor this light in our bodies and connect to Mother Earth, because Mother Earth herself is going through this ascension process. We're all going through this together. And as we move into a fifth dimensional reality, we are going in our bodies. We are not leaving our bodies. So our bodies need to be able to align with the energy coming in. And I've often compared this to we have been running on like a 110 voltage but a 220 voltage is coming in, and so ultimately everything will be a 220 voltage. And so it's so important to take care of our bodies, and because we are being asked to hold this increased light. Uranus and Taurus is about a connection to the consciousness of Mother Gaia, present and grounded in our bodies. Uranus is traveling in Gemini from July 7th to November 7th at 0 degrees, 1 minute, 1 degree, 27 minutes of Gemini. going to be there. Let's see. Yeah, and then move back into Taurus. So Uranus in Gemini is about the acceleration of consciousness growth with increased vibrational frequency. It is definitely a time of the increased awakening of humanity. We may come to some tipping points. We will be downloading a new spectrum of sound, light, and frequency and sacred geometric patterns. Increased downloads with new solutions to old problems. It's like the old ways of solving problems are just not going to work anymore. We need to be open to the infinite possibilities that are pouring in and be able to think outside of the box. We'll have increased access to advanced technology, inner and outer technology. And one of the most important things to know at this time is it's not only Uranus and Gemini, but all of the outer planets are in the early degrees of the air and fire signs. So it's kind of like a rocket blast taking off in consciousness. Just a small example. Well, it's not as small as it's a sad example. The fires that happen in California, like the ones that are just happening in Southern California, the California is very fire prone, but when the winds come in, and that is the air signs, when they come in, they really spread the fire and ignite it. So it's a very powerful energy and consciousness that is coming in. And just one more piece, it's really important to understand that as we move into a fifth dimensional reality, it's important that our consciousness is what our inner world is what is creating our outer world, and to really focus that energy, the anchor to reality based in our own consciousness rather than the outside world. For this is one of the pieces of how we will do space travel. All right. So uh, Uranus is conjunct the Pleiades, 29 degrees to 1 degree of Gemini, 29 degrees of Taurus to 1 degree of Gemini. This will start in May of 2025. And when planets transit Alcyone, there's known to have increased paranormal activity. Matthias de Stefano says that the Pleiadians are bringing the seeds of creation for planets that are becoming awake. They help their inhabitants become creators of their own reality and help them connect to their inner truth. There is a Pleiadian manifestation process, which is a conscious co-creation with the universe. And part of that Pleiadian manifestation is to realize we know thoughts create. But emotions are absolutely involved as well. And thoughts are like the vehicles, while emotions are like the fuel that drives the vehicle. Everything is created from a baseline of frequency that pulses out into the universe and is reflected back to you. We can say the affirmation, but the underlying emotion is what the universe reflects back. So the key is to work to change the internal frequency. Now, the other super important thing, as I talked about, is preparing us for open contact. Bashar says it will be the Pleiadians who make the first open contact. They will be and they are helping us by activating fifth dimensional experiences of love, creativity, and helping us open the heart chakra. Is increased telepathic communication, making their presence known, and the opening and activation of Pleiadian stargates that have been dormant for millennia. I just recently was involved in a workshop with the Stargate people from Mount Shasta who traveled to Australia to work with the Aboriginal people there and opened the ancient Stargate in Uluru. And it's just a very, very powerful experience. Okay. And there are many stargates on indigenous land all over the world. And one is said to be the Devil's Tower on Lakota land. And these stargates are going to be opened. And finally, the song of creation. It's so important as we align with Alcyone. Alcyone carries the creation codes from Mother Earth, the original creation codes. And to remember the original creation codes as they are pouring through the Pleiadian stargates that are opening from Alcyone and other stars. It is about the opening of the third eye with activation of the pineal and pituitary glands. Now is the time of remembering. Allow the influx of waves of light carrying the original codes for Gaia and humanity to pour through you. This is the same message the indigenous people are sharing now. It's time to remember the original codes and align with them. The original codes transcend polarity with no fear or separation. They open the next level of intelligence field, rewiring neural pathways and connecting us to the heart center, attuning us to the song of creation. As we attune to the fifth dimensional reality that is based in heart and love as a state of being. And this is the gift of the Pleiadians to Mother Gaia and her children. And as we do this, love radiates out to the whole galaxy and to the universe. And this is why so many of our Star Nation relatives are here right now, because they know how important this is, not only for Mother Earth, but for the expansion of love throughout our whole galaxy. So I want to thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and blessings and namaste to all.